Shen Wenlang had always hated omegas. Gao Tu knew this better than anyone else. He knew that Shen Wenlang's disdain was not casual. It was ingrained, unwavering, and unchangeable. And yet, Gao Tu had spent countless years quietly observing him, quietly admiring him, quietly loving him from afar. But no one, not even Gao Tu himself, knew what happened on the day of graduation. That day, Shen Wenlang lingered at the door of his class long after everyone had left. He stayed until the hallways were empty, until the echoes of departing footsteps faded into silence. And then, only then did Shen Wenlang leave alone, disappointed and angry. Shen Wenlang was everything that drew attention effortlessly. He had wealth, looks, and a sharp mind. He was picky and harsh in his words, yet there were still many who liked him, many who sought his attention. He was the kind of alpha everyone envied, the kind of person who could have anyone he wanted, and yet he remained aloof, untouchable. Gao Tu, on the other hand, had nothing. He wasn't particularly handsome, nor was he exceptionally intelligent. His family was a burden more than a blessing. A sickly sister and a father, who could barely hold a job and often squandered what little they had in gambling. Life had dealt him a cruel hand. And yet, in his own strange way, Gao Tu considered himself lucky. Lucky that he had nothing. Because if he had even one thing, a prettier face, a sharper mind, a well-known family, then perhaps he might have dreamed of Shen Wenlang loving him back. And that dream, as sweet as it might have seemed, would have been destined to shatter. Fortunately, Gao Tu had no such illusions. He loved Shen Wenlang quietly, silently, without hope. He had nothing to lose, and therefore, no expectations to break. His love was steady in its hopelessness, simple in its devotion. Years later, on the day Gao Tu moved out of Shen Wenlang's office, he did something he would never admit to anyone, something both foolish and deeply sentimental. He had quietly opened Shen Wenlang's drawer and torn out a page from the yearbook Shen Wenlang had asked him to fill. It was a small, seemingly insignificant act, but to Gao Tu, it was monumental. That single sheet of paper contained the full names of Shen Wenlang's family members, and to Gao Tu, it became a precious keepsake, a souvenir of a decade of secret, unspoken love. Gao Tu had already decided to resign. After years of service, after years of silent devotion, it was time to leave. And he would leave carrying with him that piece of paper, a silent testament to the love he had never confessed. Shen Wenlang had been more than a classmate or a superior to him. He had been the center of his world, the reason his ordinary life felt slightly brighter, slightly more meaningful, even when it was filled with pain and disappointment. Gao Tu had loved him quietly, sincerely, respectfully. And even though their companionship was filled with regrets and awkward moments, he could leave without resentment. Shen Wenlang had helped him complete his studies. Shen Wenlang had filled his mundane life with moments of vivid emotion, pain, longing, desire, and confusion. Gao Tu had loved, and yes, his love had been banal in its intensity. He had felt jealousy, entanglement, and heartache in ordinary human ways. But even his pain had been ordinary, reflective of a love that was quiet and unremarkable on the surface, yet profound in its depth. His love had begun quietly and ended quietly, naturally, without fanfare. Shen Wenlang had given him unrequited love and at times shallow intimacy that left him aching yet yearning. And through it all, Gao Tu had understood his place, loved without expectation, cared for without demands, and left with a heart full of memories that belonged only to him. But what ultimately forced Gao Tu to make the hardest decision of his life wasn't Shen Wenlang's coldness or the impossibility of their relationship. It was the reckless way Shen Wenlang treated something small and innocent, an unexpected little life, fragile and defenseless. Gao Tu could endure his own pain, his own unfulfilled desires, but he could not bear the thought of a new life suffering under Shen Wenlang's careless hands. No matter how painful it was, no matter how much he wanted to stay, hesitation was a sin in this moment. For the innocent life he carried, Gao Tu had to leave. He had no choice. Meanwhile, Shang Xiaoyu lay half reclined on the bed. watching Shen Wenlang's new secretary bring in a carefully arranged visit meal. He picked up the first dish, a bowl of yellow croaker soup, and smirked. "Yellow croaker soup?" he asked, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Boss Shen is quite like a homeless stray cat, wandering into other people's rooms in the middle of the night with a fish in his mouth. Shen Wenlang, busy with official business and clearly too proud to argue, simply folded his arms and stood by the bed, a sneer on his face. "Hua Yong said you liked fish soup. But it's still unclear who the wildcat is here." The new secretary shifted awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable with the tension between the two men. "The fish soup here has been very popular lately. Mr. Shen arranged for someone to queue for 2 hours to get it," he explained carefully, hoping to defuse the situation. Shang Xiaoyu casually picked up his spoon and asked another question. "I don't think I've seen you before. Where's Secretary Gao?" "Secretary Gao has resigned," the new secretary replied politely. "I've just taken over recently. It's normal that President Sheng hasn't met me before." Shang Xiaoyu nodded, seemingly indifferent, though a faint shadow of curiosity passed over his face. He didn't push further. Shen Wenlang's office had changed hands, yet the presence of the past lingered like a ghost. Gao Tu's absence was palpable in small ways, a missing word in a document, a faint emptiness where his quiet diligence had once been. The knowledge that someone who had loved silently and completely had moved on without a word. Even as Shen Wenlang carried on, commanding attention and navigating the complex web of his life, Gao Tu's departure left a subtle void, a quiet, almost invisible scar. And yet, Gao Tu had made peace with it. He had left carrying only a single sheet of paper, a token of a love that had never needed recognition. He had left with dignity, with respect, and with the understanding that some love stories were never meant to be written in the light. Shen Wenlang, for all his brilliance and charm, would never know the depth of Gao Tu's devotion, nor the sacrifices he had made. He would never know that the quiet, unassuming man who had been by his side for years had once loved him with a heart so full it ached. And that was the tragedy, and yet the beauty of it all. Gao Tu's love had been pure, untainted by expectation. It had been a silent, unwavering force that shaped his life, gave him purpose, and taught him the true meaning of devotion. Even in leaving, Gao Tu's heart was not empty. It was full of memories, full of quiet joy, full of love that would remain untarnished because it had never sought recognition or reward. And so, he walked away, carrying nothing but the faint weight of a sheet of paper, the memory of a decade, and the knowledge that he had loved completely, selflessly, and without regret. That was today's story, filled with quiet love, hidden pain, and choices that changed everything. If you enjoyed this voiceover, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next episode. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.